One or two things that probably bring everything together are doing something that you enjoy, whatever that may be. And I know it's the cliche of cliches, to say that, oh, if you do something you enjoy, you never have to work a day in your life. I actually think it's true. It's one of those things that you don't know it till you experience it, that you can really do that. So if you are enjoying it, if you really are, enamored by it, then yeah, it doesn't feel like work. And secondly, in the midst of all of that, if you can find time for yourself, for your partner, for your family, I think that more than anything else is a measure of success. I mean, we talk a lot about what is luxury today. The definition of luxury has changed. I mean, luxury is not chandeliers and fancy cars. Luxury is time.
All right, we meet again.
on podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea behind the success paradox was to connect with people and have just a dialogue on what inner fulfillment really means.
Wow. Okay.
And what is outer success. You have some victories, small, big, as you go through life. What does it really mean to you? But before we get into questions, I'd like to introduce you and welcome you at your home. So I'm in Goa and have known Anand for how many years now? More than 10 years.
More than 20.
20 years, yes. Look at that. Look at my memory.
2005, 20 years exactly.
2014 exactly. 2004. Yeah,
2004
because that's when you were applying to college.
Yeah, 4, yeah.
Right? Yeah. So just to give you background, I run this podcast, which is called The Success Paradox, but I'm also a counselor. I guide high school kids to get to college. So this was roughly 20 years ago that we met.
Yeah,
It's been a while. So Anand, since then you've made some very interesting choices and life's taken you to many, many places, not just destinations, but through your choices you made some determined sort of intentioned, contemplated moves. Maybe intuitive, just go with the flow moves, figuring out the chaos and the madness. I remember when back in the day we used to meet, you had something like this on your, something about madness and chaos. You remember that line?
My email ID was Method in Madness.
Oh yes, Method in Madness. Where was that inspiration from?
So many things make sense to a 17-year-old that are lost to me now.
Okay, so that email ID doesn't exist anymore.
It does, but I have no access to it anymore. I doubt I can crack
Hotmail or whatever it was back then. Hotmail. So Anand, you have figured out many things along the way.
Mm-hmm.
You also had some time when you were growing up in the US, or your parents were there.
Mm-hmm.
They made a choice to come back. And finally, you also made many choices, like coming back again after your college. We'll talk about that, but to begin with, you've achieved success in your career in terms of setting up a successful brand in India, made in India in the beverages space is not a small feat. It's crowded by multinationals. You've received awards. You've been now gone through an acquisition. So what is success beyond these things, which is, say, valuation, acquisition, media hype, awards, mean to you?
Wow, that's a lot. It's hard to define success. I think it's different for everyone. It's more to do with what you want from it. I don't think success for me or for Aparajita was ever, any form of celebrity, any form of, popularity or whatever else. I think success was being able to do something that we wanted to do, create an impact, create a thing, a product, and I guess just being able to go out there and do it and work together and make that successful. I think all of those things have been put together as success from just a purely professional point of view. But I think the one or two things that probably bring everything together are doing something that you enjoy, whatever that may be. And I know it's the cliche of cliches, to say that, oh, if you do something you enjoy, you never have to work a day in your life. I actually think it's true. It's one of those things that that you don't know it till you experience it. That you can really do that. So if you are enjoying it, if you really are, enamored by it, then yeah, it doesn't feel like work. And secondly, in the midst of all of that, if you can find time for yourself, for your for your partner, for your family, um, you know, I think that more than anything else is a measure of success. I mean, we talk a lot about what is luxury today, and luxury, the definition of luxury has changed, at least for us. I mean, luxury is not chandeliers and fancy cars. Luxury is time. So if you can somehow, in the middle of doing all the things that you love to do, find time to go beyond that and explore and even be bored, uh, that's luxury.
So making time your friend, that's pretty profound. Through a work-life balance, through creative expression of whatever you do, be it at home, be it at work.
Sure. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, let's circle back. So I've known you since you were in high school, wide-eyed, but always quite certain about your choices. I remember we having this conversation about colleges that you had in your kitty. And you chose Babson over a very fine liberal arts college. And I was like, oh, damn, why can't I convince Anand about making this right choice, which I have in my head? And of course, I was wrong. So, what are the inner questions you had while making those choices as even a high school kid?
I think, again, and while now we may look back at the journey and say, okay, what a measured journey, and we measured every step, took that step, then measured the next step, took that step. Actually, it's far from the truth. My memory of that experience was, just falling into it, and then hitting something and falling into something. It's one of those cartoons, those Roadrunner kind of cartoons where Wile E. Coyote falls from the top and hits something and then hits something and then hits something, and then it's, you have to enjoy the process. That's it. So I think even bumping into you was fantastic, but did we have that plan?
Anything? Yeah.
No, we were literally. My parents said, listen, you must do the SATs. I said, all right. They had no idea what the SATs meant. Went in there pretty unprepared. I think if I now look back at it, and standing outside the US embassy.
That was the only marketing effort we did. The rest was like
but literally standing outside in the line waiting to go in, someone hands us a flyer saying,
meet the counselors.
The counselors are like, all right, I have no idea. And and for my parents, it was, knowing the very bare basics of, Harvard's a good college and MIT is a good college, not knowing anything beyond that. And of course, that's literally what I went into the SATs thinking, okay, I'm going in and trying for Harvard or trying for MIT, not knowing that it was an impossibility, basically, for me at that time to be thinking about that. So meeting you guys, the team, Prab and you, was an eye opener, because suddenly it's like, hey, we must have 10 schools that we must choose. The reach, the comfort, and
the targets and safeties.
The targets and safeties. There you go. So I think the reach was, I think, NYU for me, or one of those. And I think Babson just happened. And why was Babson on the list? I don't know. I think I was.
Once you got in, you wanted to go there, so you did some research.
Yeah.
Okay, just East Coast.
It was one of those things. Yeah, maybe just East Coast. I knew it was a business school.
Right.
I knew it had a decent investment management program,
Right.
which is what I was more interested in at that time.
And they give you money right away. They tell you to.
They basically
to start a venture.
They basically get you to start a business right
Mhm.
away, which is fantastic. And again, one of those things where, you know, had NYU happened, had USC happened, you know, I might have gone there, but it didn't. And this is the first. And I applied early application, early
Right.
decision for Babson. So, you know, got through there.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's one of those things where I look back and say, you know, even up to college, and even once I was in college, once I was in Babson, I thought I was clear in my approach that I wanted to do finance, I wanted to do investment banking, etc. But 1 year in, with whatever I was experiencing there, I said, listen, that's not the field for me. And by the second year, I was looking around for what else could I possibly explore. And that's where I happened to be at, I guess, the right place at the right time when, you know, one of my strategy professors came in with a case study on the wine industry and just got me hooked. So I don't know if, you know, if there was any other way for that to have played out, for that to have panned out. You know, it's that butterfly effect thing. You know, I mean, you're not really controlling it.
So in a way, what you're saying is you just created the space for life to happen.
Yeah,
in some sense.
So. I think
right? And at that point, it was really important to do. Instead of being that rushed kid endlessly chasing self-worth in a world which has got very specific definitions of success. Get the SAT, get to a good college, get that tech finance consulting job, and then what?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you just put your head down and do things. I mean, I think there is. I remember as that high school kid or you know, in college, kind of having this pressure around for, hey, you have to have it figured out. You have to know, you know, what you're doing, where you're going, what's the next step, and you really don't know. You don't have the bigger picture as a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old. Forget that. Even as a, you know, 37-year-old, I don't have the picture. I don't know, you know, where our choices today lead us to tomorrow. So the best you can do is make the choice that feels right at that moment, and among the 2 or 3 choices that you have, and not worry so much about where that's going to lead you to. Because honestly, if I had been told 20 years ago that, hey, at some day you're going to be you know, starting a gin business that gets acquired, and you'll be living in Goa, and you'll have 2 wonderful kids, etc., I'd be like, okay, wow, sounds great. How do I do it? You know, and even if someone had laid that roadmap out for me, I wouldn't have been able to follow it. You know, so it's one of those things that.
So serendipity, there is something about it.
I mean, if not this, it would have been something else. So you just have to not stress, not worry about.
Believe in the method, in the madness again.
Yeah, there is some method. Sense. You don't have to worry about the method.
Yeah, not in your control. What is in your control is, maybe not even your choices, right? Because you don't have the right frameworks at some point.
I mean, what's in your control is the short-term choice that you make, and
intention,
whether or not you enjoy the ride.
Yeah,
I think that's in your control.
So you have control over what you can do in the moment, short term.
Sure.
You also have control over your intention. Where is it coming from?
Sure.
And of course, maybe the planning a little bit.
Sure.
For the short term.
Yeah.
So you've made some unconventional sort of moves where the world at that time, so you graduated in 2009. Back then, you could have stayed back and you had the green card. You would always be welcome in that country, irrespective of the situation we are in
now. Yeah.
So, but what was your motivation to come back? Is it family? Is it just, enough of the US?
A bunch of things.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think all of them were short-sighted, and that's great.
Yeah.
One of them was I'd obviously been dating
Yeah.
Aparajita.
I was talking about it, love interest.
Yeah,
Definitely, it works
I'd been,
for sure.
I'd been dating Aparajita for a while, and somehow we'd.
And now Prajita is your wife, and you have 2 lovely kids, and I'm at your home, so it's just fantastic.
Well, that's the thing, yeah,
Yeah,
and for anyone who says that, oh no, that's
Yeah.
such a passing thing that you can't let relationships and love or whatever dictate what you do in life. Why is that? I mean, that's an integral part of life. I think potentially more important than career.
Absolutely.
So one, obviously, that I think we were very sure that we wanted to kind of now not be in a long distance and be together wherever that may be. So we said, okay, I'll come back and I'll figure how things are, and potentially if we can both come to the US, we'll do that. But we realized actually both of us coming there meant one, I could potentially get a job with the green card, but she would have to hang around for 3 years before being able to work, which didn't make sense. I mean, both of us were just at the start of our career, and she had in fact been already establishing herself in the world of graphic design and publishing. So we said, listen, doesn't make sense. So we kind of gave up on, I guess, the whole US green card situation. Also because I think having stayed in the US for 4 years, and prior to that for another 2 years, during middle school and high school, I was a little bit disenchanted with it. I mean, I kind of experienced it. I knew what it was, but what I missed was, I guess, the chaos of India, and what was already becoming increasingly clear at that point was
right. So that's interesting. Now about building stuff or other figuring out what to do in life once you're back. You chose to continue with what you were researching on at college, and you started working at a beverage company. Then you also became a consultant to Coffee and Wine Cafe, which is a very new idea at that time. Coffee and Wine was, I think, some licenses were being given out where you could actually serve coffee and wine.
Sure.
And I remember visiting the Khan Market setup. Yeah, it was really interesting. So after that, now happened, or somewhat, like, kind of few things in between, perhaps, which I don't know. NAO Spirits is now a very successful name with 2 brands. Or are there any more brands which we'll figure out? I think you can tell me. Why do you think you stuck with this industry? Is there like just that initial bug and just something that was clicking and you just knew more about it, going more deeper into it, knowing more people in it?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's a very difficult industry to crack into. I remember the first year and a half where wherever I looked, I would ask, hey, how can I get into the wine space? And no one really had a way in. But yeah, now of course, I mean, having worked in the space for, I guess, 15 years, I kind of know it like the back of my hand, and still it's quite intricate. It's not easy to break into. It's very chaotic, I guess. Maybe that's the theme of this talk, is chaos. And kind of finding meaning in that. So experienced it through William Grant's, which was a multinational. Experienced it through Remy Cointreau, which was a multinational. Again, not very thought out moves where, I was with William Grant's for 3.5 years. I left there because I wanted to study more. So I went up, I ended up going back to Europe, to France, and doing my master's in wine and spirits business. Then coming back and working with Remy Cointreau. I was very happy working there. But it just so happened that about a year in, the company shut down in India. So 15 of us ended up being laid off, which kind of meant that, okay, now we have to kind of go out there and seek out a new opportunity.
Did you find your co-founder along the way because of this?
Yeah. So Vaibhav, who I knew from before, He'd always been in the bar and restaurant space. He had opened up bars like PCO, ETM, Lap. So he came up to me and said, "Listen, you've done your studies in wine. I'm looking at opening a wine and coffee bar in Khan Market. Would you be keen?" I said, "Yeah, I'd love to kind of work on it together and be a part of that." So it was a massive pay cut, but that was okay because again, that's something I really wanted to do. So I ended up starting that off with him or being part of that journey with him. And while it was, in its first few weeks, we realized that, we had a good cocktail program. And we realized actually people were coming in and asking for cocktails, and the highest selling cocktails were gin cocktails. We said, that's funny. Gin had never been a thing that consumers in India liked. So clearly something was changing. And yeah, from there we ended up kind of kicking off that idea that maybe we could create an Indian gin, because Indian gin just didn't exist, or craft Indian gin didn't exist. So yeah, that's, I guess, again, had I not been laid off, had I not stumbled into WebHub at the right time, at the right moment, this wouldn't have happened.
So it was a very kind of risky move, because India is a whiskey crazy country. So gin, that too, competing with top brands, was kind of unheard of. No one wanted to do it, perhaps.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. I think we'd like to unpack that a little bit more. So along the way, what do you think was the pain, the challenge that you faced most? It could be many moments, but what do you think you'll remember and tell your grandchildren about?
Many. I think money was always a problem there. It's a very working capital intensive space. And yeah, we just never had enough of it, right? And we were,
as you scale, you also need more working capital.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's so skewed towards the industry, so skewed towards the large scale players.
They've created these barriers.
That's what the rules have been made for. So the rules don't exist for the small players. So we have to play by those rules, and those are very expensive rules to play by. So for us, we would. I guess for us, we were always thinking out of the box, right? We had to think out of the box to exist, to survive, to stand out, and probably think out of the box because we couldn't really afford the box, so we had to kind of, exist outside of it. And I guess that's what really clicked for us was, the innovation, the initiatives that we've taken on over the years. It's been a fun ride, but I think, being basically down to zero in terms of bank balance has been the tough one over the years.
So the jugaad and the bootstrap. So you did it all the India way. Pretty much.
Yeah, I guess you have to, and that's the whole thing, right? I mean, people see craft and craft spirits and craft beverages, and there is a certain element of craftiness that is involved with being able to survive in craft. Is you have to be crafty with the kind of capital you have, with the kind of resources you have.
That's really interesting. When you have pain through a challenge or problem that you face, it's okay to become that sleeping hero and shove it under the rug and forget about it and do nothing and then suffer whatever consequences.
Yeah.
That also adds to pain. So you're delaying pain, but to get more pain.
Yeah.
Which is a pain from the point of weakness. But
Sure.
What you converted pain into was progressive disruption. Like, how do you disrupt this situation? And that's another way to look at jugaad.
Yeah.
So pain gives you purpose in some sense. It's that heat which generates kind of that desire, the intention, deep-seated sankalpa, as we can call it.
Yeah.
That I need to succeed. There's no other way. And that kind of makes things happen. The creative energy flows in. And also when you look at problems as progress, means to making progress, it could tie back to going to a class in a university.
Yeah.
Class maybe you hated, very tough. You liked it, but you loved to hate it.
Yeah.
and not just passing that class, but coming out of flying colors. I think that's pretty much the story I can hear. So about building an organization, people talk about there are three things in any business. Like you have a product which someone wants, find that niche, it's profitable, and then eventually you figure out how to scale it. So operations, and then to really keep the scale sustainable, you need people and culture. So what are the things that you did not compromise on as the business grew, as your kind of life unfolded? What would you sort of say were guiding principles, guardrails for your leadership team or leadership and you?
Quality. I think there were many chances for us to cut those corners. Many opportunities where we would have benefited,
like sourcing stuff from the right botanics,
right labels. Our labels for Australia still come from our labels for Hapusha still come from Australia. We can definitely get it cheaper here in India, but we've just we've stuck to the principle that you listen.
And you have this long-standing relationship with the vendors also.
And it needs to be top quality and everything. So I think the one compromise we've never made is quality. For example,
it could be in anything. It could be in service industry. It could be anything, specifically in service industries too. So
but for us it was, we're making a gin that's already well known, etc. And the constant question was, when are you making a pink gin? And pink gin is something that absolutely took off, all over the world. Lots of these companies, lots of the gin producing companies were making pink gin, which was, fruity, sweet.
Looks good.
All of that looks nice. But it's filled with artificial flavors, artificial colors, sweet, sugar. None of the things that we really stood for. So we said, listen, we're going through the pain and effort of making a gin properly. Why do we then need to add colors and sweeteners and all of that, to it and destroy it? So we said, okay, eventually when we said, okay, we'll make a pink gin, we kind of took a different route and we called it punk gin. Punk being anti-establishment. So the establishment obviously being all about the colors and the flavors and the sugars. We said we'll have none of that. So we took our gin. We took 700 kilos of strawberries from Mahabaleshwar. We got our entire team together. So accounts, sales, production, marketing, everyone sat at the distillery and we cut 700 strawberries all day and chucked them into the gin and left it there for 48 hours, strained it out afterwards, filtered it, and no sugar, no color, no additive, put it straight into the bottle. So the way strawberry gin was meant to be, because frankly, pink is not
no one likes like a strawberry, what is it called? Like a tea, or what is it? The things that you have, Mogu is a brand which does it just doesn't taste like strawberry.
Well, but that's the thing. I think the strawberry, if you eat the strawberry fruit, versus if you have one of those strawberry candies, there is such a massive difference between the two. And the thing is, now most consumers around the world actually associate the strawberry candy with strawberry flavor, as opposed to strawberry the fruit. It's gone that far away. So often we get that reaction saying, hey, this is not strawberry enough. We're like, yeah, but that's strawberry. That's actually what strawberry tastes like. So
not the synthetic one.
Yeah, and so again, I think it's we're happy being a gin that's not for everyone. I think.
And quality, how does it translate into culture when you scale?
Culture, I guess, again, from that same principle, right? That everything we do, it may not be a huge success immediately, and we're totally fine with that. We're totally fine with taking it slow. It does take time for consumer perception to change. We had the same thing happen when we did Greater Than, when we launched Greater Than, when we launched Hapusha. Was people were still more about, what's the price, as opposed to what's the quality, tell me about the product, tell me about these things. So over time, perceptions have changed. Over time, the trade has realized that, hey, the consumer does care about the quality of their beverage.
So it's not just growing and producing more. It's more about like maintaining a level of consistency and like meeting the demand where it is.
Because producing more can happen. Anyone can do it in India. Then what's so craft about us if we're not able to, really be sticklers for the right process and the right ingredients, and ensuring that we get the best out of it. And quality is not about consistency necessarily. Quality is about taking the natural botanicals that we get and giving the best that that can come out of that. So producing the best possible gin that can come out of that every single time. I think that's quality for us.
So the other thing to look at, even quality of life in general, like how do we ingest things from our five senses? Our ancient wisdom texts kind of cover this very nicely. We talk about how you put in, where attention goes, energy flows. One teacher I have, he kind of keeps reminding us of that. So your attention was on quality, and the entire team and the organization's energy was aligned to that.
Yeah.
So that's a wonderful way to look at it. Moving on, creativity is something which an entrepreneur is like, that's their tool, something that you live your life by. There's intuition and creativity in one hand. And then as you build an organization and scale and systems and culture, you need some coherence. And you experiment with all that, right? How do you kind of figure out the right iteration for working, making all these moving parts meet? So it's coming back to the chaos and madness and the method, which organizations do survive on spreadsheets or even more, more fancier tools than just spreadsheets.
Yeah.
So what do you think about creativity, intuition, and managing?
I think it depends on your style. I think there's a lot of people that are driven by the statistics, that are driven by the numbers and what they say. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I mean, you see Moneyball, that kind of an approach. It's worked, and it works wonders. And it probably has a better success rate than just intuition itself. I think for us, it was a little bit of both. I think we started with the intuition, with the hypothesis that, hey, there's something here. Then we kind of went out there and backed it up by doing some level of primary research, not massive. Again, nothing very detailed.
Or hiring a market research.
Yeah, none of that. Because we said, listen, we have to figure this out ourselves. So went and spoke to bartenders, bar owners, and said, hey, is there a spike in demand for gin? And it turned out there was. Beyond that, I think in running the organization itself, you need that mix. You can't do just spreadsheets. Maybe you can, but I think you need a little mix of both. I've learned to be a lot more organized. I've learned to be a lot more spreadsheet driven as well.
With 2 kids, I'm sure.
Yeah, you have to be. Otherwise, there's too much floating around in just your head. Right?
3 kids, like the company. And
you have to put it down on paper, and you have to be able to kind of look at it, zoom out and look at it as well. So, I think there's space for both, and you need to create space for both the spreadsheets and the intuition.
Getting feedback is a big thing.
Yeah.
And I know I meet your dad sometimes, and he's a thriving leadership consultant, and obviously has a legendary career in corporate life. And in fact, one time we were talking about feedback for me from my team and everything else, and it was really amazing to work with him to see that clarity. So understanding feedback sometimes is tough even for people in leadership positions. And feedback can come from, of course, customers, but even co-workers, people who report to you. And what do you think is your approach to responding to feedback?
I think feedback is subjective. What qualifies as feedback
Where
versus
intention and place it's coming from in some sense.
Yeah. I mean, you have to also understand.
You have to discern, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You have to be discerning about, hey, okay, there is something coming in
An
my
agenda
direction.
or a genuine effort.
Is it advice? Is it unsolicited? Is it solicited? Is it because everyone feels in India and probably anywhere in the world. I mean,
people like judging.
Everyone feels like they're entitled to to give their 2 cents, and that's great. Of course, you are entitled to, but equally, as the receiver, you're entitled to take it on or not take it on. So you kind of have to figure out where you want to take your feedback from, and then take that feedback seriously. I think that's the bit that, because especially in the beginning, I think we were unprepared for the number of people that was suddenly, cropping out of the woodwork, with advice and here's what you must do and here's what you must never do, etc., etc. And we're like, okay. And I think it paralyzed us a little bit, because suddenly there's so many people telling you how to do this that you don't know how to do it. So you kind of have to silence that for a bit. Otherwise, you're basically frozen and you're not able to move forward. So to be able to move forward, you have to kind of pick and choose your sources of feedback. And so for me, that was, always Aparajita, being someone who was a very forthcoming and transparent person. I knew I would not get anything sugar-coated there. Vaibhav, a few people, in the inner circle, had that, and then a few people, obviously, we looked as mentors in the industry. I think broadly, we had a selection of about 7-8 people that we would kind of listen to actively and think about, okay, maybe what they're saying is right.
Right. People want to influence you, but you need to choose whose influence will be something that you'll.
One of our closest mentors, for example, was someone very high up in the F&B industry, and every time we would meet him, he'd be very patient with us and give us feedback on, I think you guys are doing the right thing here. I think maybe you can move this around here. Maybe think of this. Okay.
And just few short conversations and the trajectory kind of gets calibrated.
But also at the end of every meeting, he'd say, guys, why are you doing gin? I get it. I get what you're doing. But why are you doing gin? Who drinks gin?
He's thinking like volumes pretty much.
Yeah. Right? So, he's like, listen, look at this guy who's, Ankur, who's making beera. Why don't you go make another beer, man? I mean, look at the volumes you'll get there. So that's what I mean about.
But he's still setting you in the right direction. But overall, the theme could be different.
From his perspective, also, he's asking the right questions. Yeah. Gin was a nothing category at that point, but we had the belief that it could be more, and it has become more, right? And when we started, it was a 12,000 case market. We are now at a 500,000 case. Yeah, there you go. We have a 500,000 case market, and we're market leaders in that, and it's growing. Yeah. So it's about seeking out advice, seeking out the right advice, seeking out the right people who you trust to give you that advice, but also at the end of the day, knowing where advice ends and action begins, and where your intuition takes over.
Fantastic. You're talking to a teetotaler, so an empty case will be fine.
That's okay.
Or the empty bottle will be fine. Yeah. But more than that, I think just switching gears to more the emotions by which life sort of plays out,
Mhm.
or we live through life. And sometimes there are things which are negative which cloud us.
Mhm.
Could be anger, could be greed, could be envy, could be pride of winning awards, getting valuation, getting that valuation, anger at maybe a colleague or anything else, just with yourself.
Yeah.
What do you think is intelligence leading to? When you look at how society is being shaped from industrial society to a knowledge worker society to a metacognition and meta emotion society that we live in now with artificial intelligence, how do you see meta emotions, which kind of can leave scars, not just with you, with other people as you live life with people?
I don't know. I mean, this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I guess, where, what are you doing this for? Are you doing this for the fame? Are you doing this for the bare necessities, or somewhere in between, and or self-actualization? I guess that's the top tier of all of this. So I don't know. I think at least for us, it's not been about the bare necessities, because if that was the case, then we would have just been figuring out, a job and managing to do that and everything. It's this is a fairly tough path to walk down, and to choose to walk down. Entrepreneurship is not as rosy as it looks from outside. But yeah, I think for us, the emotion in there is that we've kind of been able to do what we wanted to do at our own pace, at our own time, and we're lucky to have found some form of success in pretty much the first thing we've done together properly. We think about what next, what could be that next step in the journey, I mean, after this. But I don't think the expectation is ever any different from this, right? The expectation is always just kind of having fun and making ends meet and having fun while doing that.
Have you thought of a problem outside the beverage industry that you'd like to solve with Weber, with maybe alone, solo?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
So
I think
one trick pony.
We're happy to be that.
Yeah, exactly.
We're taking it as it comes.
Right.
Funnily enough, gin was not the intention. It was, for me, what's always enamored me was wine, and the fact that branding in the wine world is has such a huge influence to play on the perception of the product.
It's the best story ever told, I think.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's and wine was the bit for me that was always the alluring part. And somehow every time I try and get into the wine world, I fall right back into the spirits world. I left William Grant's, thinking, okay, I'm going to go study wine and figure out a job in wine, and came right back into cognac, and started working with Remy Cointreau. And when that ended, tried moving towards Perch and the whole wine bar concept and being able to work with wine closely, ended up falling right back into gin, So
again, try something in wine and then find something else. It's like your rebound thing.
Maybe, but I don't know. I think we're very appreciative of where the journey has brought us so far, and would not trade it for anything.
All right, so time for rapid fire questions.
Okay,
but yeah, you can even answer in a sentence or two. That's not as rapid as possible.
Okay, all right.
So, a small act of kindness by someone that you kind of nudge you in the right trajectory. I know we've covered about a few people, but is there anyone else that you think?
Small act of kindness.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know if it was kindness, but the professor I was mentioning, Professor Miguel Rivera, he kind of spent a lot of time with me to help me figure this out. Because I was this confused kid at the age of 18, and I had never attended those, you know, what was it, professor hours, or whatever the
tutorials, or like office
hours. Office hours. I'd never attended those office hours for anyone. But here I kind of went up to him after class and said, "Listen, I'd love to know more about this. This was really interesting." And he said, "Yeah, sure, come by." And met him in office hours, met him outside of office hours, and spoke a lot about potentially wanting to do something around gin at some point in my life. And he kind of helped me figure out, this course in New Zealand that I could kind of go and do for a semester and do that as a study abroad program thing. And again, things, just moved on from there, and kind of got sparked in the right way. But again, there's so many people along the way that have helped.
When I think of your family, it's like, running Udayan Care for so many years and supporting it, and such personalized attention to the beneficiaries of Udayan Care. It's just wonderful to see your father and mom sort of so committed to the cause of supporting young women. So is that something that you also imbibed and you sort of want to pass on to within your family, or is there a seva or a service that you wish
really,
that you
not as yet. I think we'll get to that stage eventually. Okay. I think we did that with Amartya's baby shower when we decided we wanted to support Aprajita and I. We wanted to support this private forest reserve. There's a couple in Karnataka that basically just bought up some like wasteland, like absolutely nothing growing there, and regenerated it, to basically bring back, local fauna, flora.
That's amazing. That's your way. That's fine.
Yeah, it'll be amazing. So we were really, amazed by that, and we said, listen, we want to support that in any way we can. But that was many years ago. So we're hoping to be able to do that and more of that again.
Next question. Something that you've been chasing in life which keeps running out of your grasp.
Wine.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Easy.
Yeah. Next question. If you can think of your 17-year-old self, which would one class that you would take to teach that person? What would be the syllabus like?
Oh my God. I know exactly what it would be, and it's fundraising.
Okay.
I think, and I'm pretty sure there would have been a few
classes. Why is fundraising not for everyone? Is it like, why is there so many entrepreneurs who just have this club, whatever they do, they just keep raising funds? And there are so many really good entrepreneurs who just are not there in that, camp.
Because when you think of an entrepreneur, you're not thinking this person's good at raising funds.
Yeah.
You're thinking this person is good at, innovating, at creating a great product, creating a great story, telling a good story. Fundraising is not something that you ever think you're going to need to be trained for. But it's such an integral part of running a business because, as much as I would love to just spend time at the distillery and be around the product and just keep, doing that, you have to keep the business going. And like it or not, you're the one who's in charge. So hence you are the one that must go out there and raise funds. And it's tricky, so even basic things like valuations, is there for the first 2 years, maybe 3 years of having raised funds and doing that, I kept thinking there was something that I just didn't know. Like the people I was talking to, who I was raising funds from, had a better understanding of valuations. And I kept thinking I'm missing something, that there is a secret formula that exists somewhere that is, making these guys realize what my company is worth and not me. But actually there isn't. Fundraising is so much about the storytelling of it. It's so much about um, the demand and the supply equation, which is such an unknown. If someone wants to pay X for it, it is worth X.
Pretty much.
That's it. That's all there is to fundraising and valuations, etc. And I think so many entrepreneurs can benefit from just a 101, fundraising class. It's incredible. And I'm sure I'm probably sure it exists
in many schools.
I'm pretty sure it exists in Babson at least.
Right.
Considering how good they are with entrepreneurship, etc. But I think in all my time at Babson, I never realized I was getting bitten by the entrepreneurial bug. I never intended to be an entrepreneur. It was an accidental one.
Last question. This is about spirits, but different kind of spirit.
Okay, all right.
Of course, we have a spirit to do stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the word spirit probably comes from spiritual, or it's a combination, say different like groups of words within spirit. There's that inner fulfillment that we derive from our connection with our spirit.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think it means to you? What is it that spirituality in some sense means to someone who is going through life, is achieving things, at the same time doesn't feel the hollowness, wants to do more, fine, that's fine, doing stuff in the world which is in the outer realm. But inside, what are you working on the inside? Or do you think there's a need to do anything on the inside when you can just balance your work and life and everything else?
I don't know. I mean, obviously,
like people do yoga, they do pranayama, they do many things, just or follow a certain teacher or certain book or influencer or chatbot also these days.
Sure.
But yeah,
I think for me it's curiosity. I think that's maybe the guiding principle. Is
so why you exist, where you're going.
Sure, is to be curious about that, but not get bogged down by
it. Exactly.
Is
to act on it, right? To skillfully act in the world rather than.
Yeah, I mean, I love the questions around why are we here, how did we get here, etc. And I love reading about it, and I love getting into the science of it, and the books around gene theory and the selfish gene, etc.
Dawkins.
Which are great, and they're really interesting, and they really make you think about potentially the purpose or the accidental nature of your existence. And that's
or even how evolution is still happening, right? Sure. It's in front of our eyes with all these now interaction economy or interaction societies, and then beyond artificial intelligence embedded societies. So there is that progress that we are making. However, we also I was at a conference recently, and one of the speakers, Ollie from International Baccalaureate, he was the head of IB, and he talked about how he's still totally concluding that the way humans have this consciousness, the metacognition and meta emotions, the way we can able to relate with that, cannot be a model cannot be trained. An AI model cannot be trained to do that. So life in a way comes from life, and singularity as a goal of science might not really happen because what technology is doing is creating an echo chamber. So we're training the model on what we are saying. So our consciousness from a Maslow's need hierarchy sort of platform, from industrial economy to knowledge workers and now interaction societies, is a growth. But
just by looking at the proof of where we've come in the last 10 years, 10, 15 years, I'll be surprised if pure AI doesn't happen. To the extent where it's already, we're asking it, all sorts of silly questions and important questions and coming up with answers that are probably collated at least better than any human could do already.
Yeah, it's an echo chamber. So it kind of takes as we progress. So technology is actually a great tool for human evolution.
Sure.
and it is in a way the design of how this our existence is meant to be. So we embrace it instead of saying, oh, this is half baked right now. Like we are also half baked right now. So
no, again, I think at the end of the day, I'm very curious about all these questions, but and I try and find time to understand the theories, etc., involved with it.
But there's no study or a specific method.
I'm not losing sleep over it. Basically,
exactly.
I'm amazed by it, and I'm amazed by.
But as your kids grow, you see that playing out.
Yeah.
The things are already playing out. Like I saw Amartya, 7-year-old, reaching certain levels in Scratch, creating a video game. I would have wondered why, how can someone do that at that age?
Yeah.
It's incredible. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Arjun.
Opening your heart, your home, your entire family. Really, been a guiding light for me, your father in particular. So thank you.
Likewise.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Arjun. Thanks.